Okay, welcome everyone. I'm going to get right into the stock market charts and show you guys exactly what I'm seeing, where I think the trades are showing up, pointing out a couple market indices, and then we'll go into a bunch of different stocks to try to find some trade ideas. So we're going to take a look at the S&P 500 heat map here. You can see we're pretty much having a broad-based sell-off. Semiconductors are strong, and Facebook's doing okay. And besides that, the FANGs are pretty much flat. And because the FANGs are not really selling off, we're not seeing a whole lot of selling in the indices. Remember, those FANG stocks are heavily weighted in those indices. But we are seeing a broad-based sell-off in many other areas. So we're going to dig into that right now. Okay, just starting with the FANG stocks. Google, you can see here on the daily chart, we're just kind of treading water along this trend line. And that's this upward support channel right here. We're just slightly above it. Last 4 days, we've really gone nowhere. You can see we're just grinding along support. It's a battleground right now where they're trying to figure out where this thing's going. So until this breaks, until we break down, there's no real sell signal. You're likely not going to see tech break until some of these other FANG stocks break. Same with Apple. You can see Apple on the daily chart. We have support right there at about 144.50. Last couple days, we've just been kind of treading water right above support. So those two are just holding on to support. There's no breakdown, no sell signal. Until we see those go, we're not going to see a broad-based tech sell-off and likely not a broad-based market sell-off. So those are kind of the linchpins that I see in the market right now. I'm watching those. Again, I think we're going to get that sell-off because of the negative divergences we have. This is Apple. Big negative divergences that we have in place pretty much across the board with those FANG stocks. So I think we're going to get I think we're going to take out that support level, but we need to see it before there's any kind of broad-based indice short that we can really enter into. So things I'm looking for on Qs is right now you can see on the daily chart, we're just kind of walking up this trend line right here. So we've done a series of trend lines, basically coming off the March 2020 lows. We created an upward trend here, had a sell signal and a break of trend there. Then we created a secondary trend, nice tight range right there, really no volatility, just kind of grinding higher. And on the secondary trend line, we then got another sell signal here, and it's kind of starting to repeat again. So you can see on the hourly, we're just kind of holding this trend line now and grinding higher. So until we see a change of that posture, we could just continue to make these kind of low volatility waves higher with big negative divergence in place though. So any kind of impact or catalyst will have the opportunity to see a pretty powerful sell-off because of the low volatility and the big negative divergences that have been building on this. I think a catalyst will set us up. But until we see that catalyst, we're likely going to just continue to grind higher. So day in and day out, we're just kind of waiting for that catalyst, waiting for these divergences to start to play out, and we're looking for our sell signal. Okay, AMD, I want to point this one out. So this is the trend line on the daily chart coming off February 2016. Clear uptrend line here. At the top of the trend line up here, we put in negative divergence, starting to just continue to build that negative divergence. And then we broke trend right there. We broke trend, back test 1, back test 2. We kept hitting this support level here at 73.83 and it kept holding. And we've now just pretty much gone parabolic over the last few days, just straight up. The divergence still remains on the PPO. You can see it right here. However, it is pointed straight up. So it's not confirmed. What you'd want to see to confirm the divergence is the indicators start to turn down like that. As of right now, they're pointed up, so they could continue up and take out that divergence. That's completely possible on this PPO. Now, if you look at the RSI, we have slight negative divergence, but again, it's coming all the way back to here, but it's pointed straight up. So unless we turn down soon, we're not going to confirm that negative divergence, and we're going to burn through that negative divergence on the RSI. So if that happens, then we could probably just view this as a correction in time, where AMD did not really want to correct in price, but only in time, and then we're going to just continue the uptrend. We've recovered the trend line here. And so for me, there's no reason to short this thing. Again, anybody that had been following me for a while, I took the short, but I covered it right back here, I believe on the 19th or the May 18th or 19th, somewhere right in there. I covered it right back in here when we were at that support because I wanted to see that support break before I continued with the short or added to a short position for a move all the way down here to 59. So I covered, and I haven't reshorted the thing. It's just kind of gone straight up. And as of right now, it's recovered that trendline support. So I'd look for signs of a failure of this recovery. And if you don't see that and it continues to hold the support, then I would just say we had a correction in time and we're continuing the uptrend in AMD. Things to watch for on that one. Okay, Lyft. Lyft is breaking down out of that bear flag that I pointed out. So Lyft basically, to me, looks like it's set up for a move down to 43.74. So on Lyft, on the daily chart, we had this uptrend right up here. We put in negative divergence. We started to build that negative divergence. So this was your last divergent high right up in here. And then we broke the trend line with a big sell signal right there. There's your break of trendline support. And ever since then, we came down, ran up, did a back test. They stepped in early and it never got that full back test. Then it started to flag out. So you can see the bear flag that we're making right here. We have the flagpole. You flagged out with a bear flag, and now you're continuing the break to the downside. Pretty impulsive today, too, down almost 9%. So when I look at this, I think this sets us up for a move down to the projected target that I can tell is right, if we can get rid of these lines, is right here, which is you take that and go like that, which is basically the former lows right here. So that's kind of the projected target is right about in there. It's actually right there at 45.92, but we also have a former reaction low down there at 43.85. And we've already visited that low. So I think we're going to actually head down to 43.42 as the next level of support. Probably get a bounce there. But again, if we break below that, I don't see anything stopping us until we get all the way down here to 32.06, which is the next level of support because you got a big gap to fill right there. So, yeah, again, I've had this marked out. Looks, it's kind of taken a while to play out, but it looks like we've kind of rounded the bounce basically, and we're continuing the downtrend. And if you look at the bigger picture, the downtrend actually has never. We broke support here and we made a high, but it was a lower high than before. This is a lower high than the former high. And so now I'm looking for a lower low, probably down to here, to just continue that downtrend. So swing trading, it takes time to work itself out, but over time, this trade does look like it's going to continue to downtrend. Okay, American Eagle just continues to kind of drift sideways. Again, I think we're going to drift sideways to lower. We do have earnings coming up here. Looks like they're coming out pretty soon. I'll have to double check. TradingView's been giving me wrong data on the earnings, so I'll double check that. Okay, so it says here I did some research. Earnings are coming out September 8th, so it looks like we've got a little bit of some time before earnings. So we could continue to drift lower. Again, I think we're at a minimum going to hit the support here at 30.64. I think that's a very high probability move down. And from where we're at now, that's a move of about 9.5%. So I think that's in the cards, and we're continuing to let this thing play out. Okay, Abercrombie and Fitch, ANF, breaking support today. Pretty impulsive sell signal. Support was really sitting here at 37.14. You can see on the daily chart all the tags of that support line. Today they're impulsively breaking down below that support. So if we hold down here throughout the day and we close down here, that would be your next sell signal. And I would say that sets us up for a move down to the next level of support, which really is about right there at 30.41. So far we've got a sell signal or a continuation of the downtrend in ANF, and we are likely going lower, so letting this one go. Okay, CAR, Avis Budget Group. So again, this is their uptrend line on the daily chart. We had divergent highs up here. We got a break of trendline support right there, and that came with negative divergence. That's what made those divergent highs. So you see the momentum dropping off. And again, guys, check out the course, the technical analysis course, if you want to learn about these concepts. I talk about all these in the course. I'll leave a link in the description below. And so there's your breakup trendline support, and there is a back test. They back tested it, ramped it right up into resistance, didn't quite get there, got pretty close right before earnings. And then earnings came out, and obviously this thing's down 11%. Now it's hitting this level of support right here at 79.86. But again, pretty impulsive rejection there of that resistance. I think it's likely we're going to continue to the downside on this one. I would say the target on this, high probability target, is right there at 50.93, or we'll call it 51, right down there. So this one still looks good for downside price action. Now, I did cover my short right here at the lows, and I did not have an opportunity to reshort. I was looking for just a slightly little bit higher. A tag of that trend line is really what I was trying to get. They didn't quite give it to me. Down 11%. So maybe if we get a little bit of a bounce here, then that would give me an opportunity to reshort this thing. But as of right now, I'm not short this. So but if I was short, I think it looks good. I would just remain short at this point. It looks good. Okay, another one that is continuing to the downside, General Motors. So again, I've been short this for a while. I've talked about it. I haven't covered it a whole lot in detail recently because we've just been consolidating, kind of chopping around sideways, just a big mess right there. But technically, there's been no change in the reason why I want to be short. So again, there's your upward price channel in GM right there. Again, at the highs, we had negative divergence. See how we made a lower high in momentum on the PPO and pretty much a lower high there on the RSI. So I have it circled. There's your divergent high. So I was looking for a break of trendline support sometime soon. There's your break of trendline support. So we broke, chopped around for a little while, but today we're breaking the next level of support, which is really kind of this zone. I have a couple areas right here, but it's really this zone. I would say 53.92 would be the area that if it can't recover and we close below there on the daily, I think we're heading straight down to the next level of support, which is pretty clear at 46.83. So far so good. Looks like we're continuing the downtrend in GM. And, that's kind of my final target on this one as well, is right there at that level, at 46, 47, 46.83, 47 area. Is likely going to be my final target for this. And all in all, if we get there from the sell signal, if you waited to the end of the day and took the sell signal there, from there to there is a move of, 18, almost 19% profit. Okay, so that one still looks good. Okay, this one I think is a good setup. Net earnings are coming out tomorrow, August 5th, likely before the bell, I believe. And so the setup right now is a short trade to the downside. However, we could pop on the earnings. So I want to kind of point out what I'd expect to happen. On the daily chart, you've got a clear uptrend line here on the daily. We did start to build negative divergence. So this was a divergent high here. You can see how we made lower momentum here. This was a divergent high. So we had a series of negative divergence where we made higher highs in price and lower highs in momentum. And that's both on the RSI and the PPO. So then you were looking for break of trendline support. There's your break right here. They kind of chopped it around a little bit, but ultimately was rejected. And then it's really been just back testing, a series of back tests ever since it broke that trendline support. So you can see back test here, back test right there. There's another back test. And now we're way up here. So basically the way that I see this kind of playing out right before earnings is as you zoom in, let's look at the hourly. You've got that trend line right up there. Sorry, I had to get my chart to work. The trend line's right up there at about 132, 131, somewhere right in there. And we're coming out with earnings. So I would look for, they could pop it up there, but I think that's going to get sold into. So we don't know which way it's going to go after the earnings, but I would expect that we're going to sell off regardless of whether we gap up, open up at this resistance line, or if they just come out and sell it down after bad earnings. So I'm going to probably take a starter short into this. And the thing that also I like is you can see we made a new higher high in price right here, and yet it's still negative divergence on the RSI and the PPO. We're just kind of extending that divergence. So there it is. New negative divergence high, and we're coming into earnings. I'm expecting, so again, it could gap up right to resistance, and I think that'll get sold into, or we just gap down. But I think there will be selling tomorrow, whether we open higher or open lower. And Starbucks, more selling today, down another %. So again, from that island cluster reversal up here, this is kind of where I took the trade. But even if you waited till you got the absolute sell signal right here, I talked about stepping in a little early. You would be profitable now by about 3.5% and continuing down. Now, we have been selling down for quite a few days in a row, so I would expect probably a slight bounce. And I would look for a bounce potentially back up to this 120.50 area. That's likely going to contain the bounce before we resume the selling. So that's kind of how I'm positioning. I actually covered half of my short trade on this, and I'm looking for a bounce up to there to re-short that or add back that position. Ultimate target, though, if you don't want to kind of game these little bounces, I think a high probability short trade target would be 109.50, and then possibly 101.50. These are kind of the levels to watch. Final target would be down here at about the 93.50 area. And Charles Schwab, SCHW, just continuing the downtrend. We're just kind of consolidating over the last couple of weeks, just sideways. But there's no indication that the downtrend's over, so I'm staying with the short trade, looking for 62.27 as the next level of support. And then probably the final target on this would be down here at this 51.60 area. That's what I have marked out as the final target. So I like that. C's, which is the SeaWorld, again, just looks like we're continuing the downtrend. It's been kind of consolidating for the last couple weeks. And, when it makes its next move to the downside, it'll probably happen in just a day or two, but we'll likely see just, a big drop. We got earnings coming out tomorrow on this one as well. So this could go either way after earnings. They could gap it up and right into this resistance way up here at 55.44. That would be a pretty good move to the upside. That's a 24%. I think it's more likely that earnings comes out negative. Maybe they gap it up at the open right to 46.44 and then sell it down. But I would look for more downside over the near term, down to this 36.80 as probably the final target. Yeah, 36.80 is the final target for me on this one. And we'll wrap up here with gold. Again, gold's just kind of consolidating over the last couple weeks. It's really just been flat. So just looking for a breakout above this 1833.50 area. You can see on the hourly they hit it again today, or pretty close right there. So we're range bound. All right, we've got a range of that 1833 area as the resistance, and we've got 1790.50 as support. And until we take out one of those levels, we're just continuing sideways. And the miners in general, they're kind of down, but they're flat to down. Some are flat, some are down. They're just consolidating. I'm still bullish the miners. They still look good. We just need to see this range get taken out on gold. And I'm looking for some downside on oil. You can see here on oil futures CL, you have this clear uptrend line coming off the October 2020 area. Held support here. We finally broke right there just recently back in July, or mid-July. Came in for a back test and another pretty impulsive rejection. So looking at one of the proxies that I like is this drip trade. You can see we had a downtrend line here on drip on the daily chart. Down here, I have it circled because we had bullish divergence starting to build. So that bullish divergence was lower lows in price while momentum was building positive momentum. We then look for a break of the resistance or the downtrend line. Got a clear breakout and a move right up to what I see as the first level of resistance, which was about 957, 960. Overshot it on the first run, but then settled back down consolidated under that resistance and now starting to break above. Now it's not completely impulsive yet, but it does look like we're going to start to break above. And if we do, I see us moving pretty much straight up to this 1407 area. That's going to be the final target for me on this drip trade. But again, that would be a move of, that's about 40% up there. So if oil continues to sell off, that's usually not a good sign for the broader markets to see oil selling off. But we'll watch the oil futures, watch some of these oil stocks. Looking for some more downside in oil, and drip is an inverse ETF, so it's 2 times leverage. If oil goes down, this drip goes up. And that's really all I have. So again, guys, leave me a thumbs up. I do get quite a few thumbs up, but if you don't give me one on average, just go ahead and hit that. I would appreciate that if you find some value in the content. I'll keep putting out the videos. You guys keep encouraging me, and I will catch you.